1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we go. Your phone should be away at this point. So select the method below that you would use to begin the problems. Okay? We have factor if necessary and cancel like factors. That's when you don't have any operations going on, if you're just simplifying. Okay, so that's number 1. It's just simplifying. 2 says factor, flip, change the second fraction, and cancel factors. That's when we're doing division. So I'm going to put simplify, and I'm going to say multiplication goes here. This is your division. Multiply all fractions about what it's missing. That's adding and subtracting. And cross multiply is when we have those equal signs. So a proportion equaling a proportion. Okay, so that's the methods you would use based off of the problem that you're given here. Questions on that part? Make sure this is going. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the first one. I have no operations going on. I'm just simplifying. So what method should I use? Yeah, just simplifying. So number 1. Again, I know this is really weird, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to memorize the methods. That's fine. But when you're studying at home, you can at least see what we did, what the steps were. Okay, so we're going to do factor if necessary and cancel like factors. So what would I do with this top part? How would I factor it? Yeah, I would square root. So when I square root each of them, I get x. What's the square root of 121? 11. Very good. Now, how would I write that out as factors? Yep. Very good. Do you have questions on that part? Hopefully that's getting better for you with the factoring. So if you were gone, this is a perfect overview of everything that we've done. Now the bottom piece here, what number can come out of both 2 and 22? Very good, 2. So I'm going to pull out a 2. So I'm going to factor out a 2, which technically means I'm dividing both of them by 2, and whatever I get is what's left over. When I divide the first one by 2, I just get x. What about when I divide the second one here? 11. Okay, there's a reason why we do this, because look at that. Now we can simplify a little bit further. These cancel out, and with my highlighter, I like to highlight what's left over. I get x plus 11 all over 2. That's my final answer. Okay, so always look to see if you can factor first. If you can, great, do it. If you can't, then you just leave it alone. In this situation, both of them could factor. Now the next one is pretty much the same thing. I would recommend factoring first, factor everything, because it'll actually save you more time. I know that we were writing everything out when we were doing our notes, but I'm telling you, if you factor first, things might be a lot easier for you. So let's talk about this first one. This one can be factored. What does it become?
X plus 1, x minus 1.
Good, x plus 1 and x minus 1, because when I square root both of them, that's what I get. Okay, so then what can I factor out of this green piece? What's common?
2.
Well, 2, there's no 2 here, so it's probably going to be some kind of letter. X, yeah, x is common in green. So I'm going to divide each one by x. That goes away. So I'm left with x plus 6. So that was just this piece. You always have to factor if you can. But remember, now we're dividing. So what method are we using? 2, because we're factoring, and then we're flipping the second fraction and changing it. So here we go. We're going to change the multiplication. That was at KCF. Keep, change, flip. And then flip the second fraction. So 7x over x minus 1. From here, it's very straightforward. This is the fun part, because you can start canceling things out. I have an x minus 1 here and in the bottom here. What else can I cancel? X. I have 1 here and 1 here. Multiplying, whatever's on the top can be canceled with whatever's on the bottom. Doesn't matter where it's at. So with my highlighter, I'm going to highlight what's left over. I have x plus 1 on top and x plus 6. And don't forget about that 7. So I have 7. X plus 1 all over x plus 6 is my final answer. Do you have questions on that part? I'll give you a second to make sure it's all written down. Okay, so when you see division, keep, change, flip. Factor first, then keep, change, flip. Remember, there's always 4 pieces, really, normally, And if there's 4 pieces, you have to see which one's factor. Now let's look at this next one. We're adding. So what method are we going to use? Method 3, very good. Where we have to find the least common denominator and multiply by what it's missing. Find the least common denominator, multiply what's missing. So in this situation, I'm going to find the LCD first. I like to write it out so that we can compare. They both have an x, so I have to include an x in here. What would be the least common denominator in this situation? It's always going to be higher than your lowest number. What'd you say? 20, very good. The trick is to multiply these together and you get 20. Okay, for most situations that'll work, unless the numbers were higher, then sometimes it gets a little tricky. So then, the second step is to multiply by what's missing. It has an x, and it only has a 5. What would I have to do to make it 20? Yeah, multiply the top and bottom by 4. What would I have to do over here to make this guy 20?
Multiply by 5.
Yeah, multiply by 5 over 5. Remember, the goal is for you to get them the same as your LCD. Because now watch how straightforward and easy this is. Because 4 times 2 is 8. It's all going to be all over your LCD, always. It's never going to change. When you're adding and subtracting, your LCD stays the same. And then I have 5 times 5, which we know is 25. Then we just got one more step, and that's just to combine like terms. I know I'm going fast, but I feel like we've reviewed a lot. This is the 3rd day of review. Okay, so what would I do on the top? What?
38.
Yeah, it becomes what? 38. Oh, I was like, what? And you're done.
That's it?
Yeah, so some of these are not too difficult. And the ones in the test, I try to make them, I mean, all of this is hard, but you should be able to do all of them. I didn't put any tricks in there. Okay, you're going to be seeing all of them. So if you're stuck on any one of these, maybe that's a good one to write in your interactive notebook. Here, there is no extra credit on the test. So, but after the test, if you finish, you do a round of extra math. That's usually the extra credit that you get. Okay, so what method would I use in this situation? I have an equal sign. 4, which means cross multiply. Very good. So here's what I'm going to do. Write it out. 18 times x plus 3. Because whenever there's a group, you have to multiply it by both. Equals in black here. And then in purple, same thing. 6 times x minus 1. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. Either way is fine. Some people will divide by 6 to reduce to 18. Some people will distribute it in. It does not matter which one you do. Okay? In this situation, 18 can be divided by 6, so I think that would be the easiest for us. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6. See how that goes away. Well, what is 18 divided by 6? 3. So that becomes 3x plus 3 equals x minus 1. What was your question on that one?
I'm not doing anything like that. I thought
You can distribute.
I do it.
You can definitely do it the other way. Any way is fine. Or you could have done this. You could have done 18x times 18 times 3. What's that?
Plus 54.
Plus 54.
Yeah, okay.
You could have done this. That's totally fine. It's just going to take you longer to get there. That, I promise you, is fine. I was just trying to save you a step. So then I would go ahead and distribute like Jake did earlier. 3x plus 9 equals x minus 1. When you're solving for a variable, then there's one on both sides. You must get all the variables to one side and all the numbers to the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the x to the left side. So I have to subtract it. And I get 2x plus 9 equals negative 1. Now what would I do to solve for x? Yeah, subtract 9. Very good. And I get 2x equals negative 10. What's my final step? Divide. Thank you. X equals negative 5. Okay, I know that was a lot of work. I get that. I know this is a lot of algebra. But you're at a point where you're almost seniors and you're fully capable of it.
I didn't get that.
you would have gotten the same answer, and if you didn't, please let me know and I'll come and check it. All right, number 5. We're not doing all of these. We're going to skip number 9, actually. So whenever you see this, all you're doing is you're multiplying straight across. Okay, this is actually the first method because there's really nothing to do. You're just simplifying. So we're going to multiply straight across, or you can cancel things that you know do. Like, for example, if you see it right now, if you're one of those people that are pretty good with math, you can see it that 24 divided by 8 is what? I'm trying to make you guys faster at this than just trying to do the process. It's 3. So technically, this becomes a 3. Now, again, I'll rewrite it out where you guys are doing all of it all out. That's fine. But you can also do it that way, too. What's 39 divided by 13? 3. You can do that, and it's going to actually save you some time. So I would recommend doing that if you can see it. If not, you multiply straight across, and your calculator will reduce it for you. So then I have 3 times 3, which is 9. What is a squared times a squared in blue? 8 to the 4th. So it's 2 plus 2, which gets you 4. It's okay. And then in purple, I have b times no other b, so I just rewrite it. And same thing with the c. It's all by itself, so I'm just going to rewrite it. All right, now the a's, there's only one of them, so I'm going to just write it out. B's, I have b times b squared. Very good. And then same thing with the c's. In green, I have c times c squared. C cubed. Okay, so you're multiplying straight across. Now, some of you, again, it just depends on who you are. You know, some of you could have done a squared divided by a and be like, oh, there's only one a left on top. Like, you could do it that way. It just depends on what type of person you are. Like me, I would have started crossing things out instead of trying to multiply straight across. But either way is fine. But look at that. Goodbye. C's. I have 4 a's on top, 1 on bottom. How many's left and where is it? There's 3 on top. Very good. What about the b's? Yeah, b squared on the bottom. Very good. And you're done. Awesome. That was good work. You guys are doing so much better than last year on this stuff, and I'm very proud. And I know this is hard. I'm going to keep saying it, but you can do it. Like, you just got to keep trying.
What method was number 5?
It should have been 1 because it's just simplifying. Flip when you're ready so I know that I can move on. We're not going to do number 9.
Cross off.
You can cross off 9, yeah. Okay, look at this one. This is probably, should it be your favorite one, but what's the method I'm going to use? Which one's when we're adding and subtracting? Yeah, method 3. That's where we had to find the least common denominator and multiply by what's missing.
We already know all this.
Yeah, because look, they have the same exact denominator. So we're good. This should be like your best friend when this happens because you really have nothing to do besides add the tops. The only thing in this situation is I have a subtraction sign in the middle. So I have to change it to plus and then change all of the signs that come after it. So whenever you have a subtraction in the middle, you need to change it to plus and then distribute the negative to the rest of them. From here, it's pretty straightforward. I have it all over my LCD. But then look at this. What's 3x minus x? 2x. And then we have 2 minus 1. 1. And we're done. As I said, those ones should be your best friend. You should be super excited.
Wait, so if we said x minus 1, so it would be negative x and then plus 1?
Yeah, negative x plus a negative 1.
Yeah.
Or just minus 1.
But if it was a negative there instead.
Yes, it would become plus. Yes, you are completely correct.
Number 7 already factored.
Yeah, so there will be one just like this on your exam because I'm trying to make you guys see that it's already factored out here. Whenever we're multiplying, we're really just simplifying. So that's method number 1. But look at that. Basically, when you multiply, it just becomes one big fraction. So you can also think of multiplication as one big fraction. So let's go ahead and take a look. Right away, I see something cancels. What is it? Yeah, the x minus 3. Very good. Okay. Now, what can I factor out of this piece right here? A 5. Very good. Guys, we're getting so much better than that. Better than before.
And ours?
Oh, I was gonna say yours has 50. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So it's not just, so it's 10. There you go. So I'm sorry about that. My OneNote did not transfer that over. So yes, so it is 10 now.
And, oh,
Would be 10x or
X.
Just 10 because the other one doesn't have an X. Yeah. Yeah, parentheses X minus 5. Very good. So now that one, I'm going to put like a little arrow here. We factored, okay, so that you know. So I'm not even going to look at this one anymore because now that's my new factoring. Now what cancels? Yeah, goodbye. And then let's see what happens when we multiply straight across because this is what's left only. Everything on the bottom's gone besides the 10. On the top, we have 2 times x plus 1. So 2 times x plus 1 all over 10. Is there something else that might be able to simplify? Yeah, the bottom turns into 5, and here's why. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and it's on the bottom. And we're done. Okay, so it's just a bunch of simplifying, canceling things out that you can. Got 2 more left, and the rest of the time is yours to work on and ask questions. Work on the review and ask questions.
Oh, we have a review?
If you were listening, yes.
Wait, is it the one that was given to us last week? Was that a new one?
This is the new one, yeah. All right, number 8. This is the same one. Keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. Whenever we have division, we're going to keep the sign, keep the first fraction, change it, and then flip. That was method 2. Okay, keep, change, flip. But again, I would have you guys factor before you do anything because it will help you. What can I factor out of 3x squared and 9x? Yeah, I heard both of them. A 3 and an x can come out of both of them. When I divide each one of them by 3x, what's left inside? 3 here. How would you say it inside? There we go, x plus 3. And you can always check your answers. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 3 is 9x. So now that's gone. That will help us. What is this technically over?
1.
Yeah.
So it would be 1 over. Wait, so would it be 1 over x plus 3 because you flipped?
Yes. So now we're at the keep, change, flip. So I'm going to do the KCF. The K, the C, and the F. So we're going to keep it 3x times x plus 3 all over 6.
Would it be like 1 over 6?
Yep, change. And then 1 over x plus 3 because we had to flip the second fraction. Question on that part. Now this is the fun part, at least in my opinion, because you cancel things. Goodbye, goodbye.
Is it 4x over 6? Oh, wait, how would you do the top? That's all. Do you combine the 3 and the 1?
Technically, it's 3x times 1, which is just 3x.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I am just left with 3x over 6, but that can reduce because what's 6 divided by 3? 2. And is it on the top or bottom? The bottom. So, remember my trick that I taught you guys? Like, 3 over 6, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't even know how to reduce that. But if you reverse your thought and you do 6 divided by 3, you're like, oh, it's 2. But it's going on the bottom because 6 is bigger. We got 1 more left because we're crossing out 9. And then you should have half a period to finish your review.
Well, can I see the last one?
Yep.
Would it be 3x or 3x plus 1 over 6 and then
So because this is multiplication, it's times 1. So it's 3x times 1, which is just 3x.
Wait, is number 10 keep change flip 2?
It is not. There's an equal sign. So this is cross multiplication. So that was 4, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, cross multiply. However, I highly recommend that you factor before you even do anything because it's going to save you a lot of time in the end. So, before I do anything, the only piece of all 4 of these parts is going to be this one that factors. So I'm going to write this out for myself that I have to factor this piece. There's only going to be one of these like this on the exam where you have to know how to do this because I've been trying to prep you for it. Every homework assignment, I put 2 of them on there. What multiplies to 1 and adds to what number? -2, yes. Well, the only 2 numbers that multiply to 1 are 1 and 1. But now what are my signs going to be? Yeah, they're both going to be negatives. Very good. So I'm going to use that. Because -1 plus -1 is -2, so that works out. And when you multiply them together, you get +1, and that works. So I'm going to go ahead and go back up here now and write my x minus 1 and x minus 1. Because those were the magic numbers I just used. Now cross multiply because you're going to notice something cool that happens here in green. Anything times 1 is itself. So I'm just going to rewrite it. X minus 1 times x minus 1. Put my equal sign. Then here in purple, I have 2 times x minus 1. Now here's a really cool thing. If there is something on one side of the equation that's exactly the same on the other, do you know what happens? They cancel. Bless you. Because technically, if I divide both sides by x minus 1, they're going to eliminate. So just know that if you have something that's exactly the same on the right side as you do on the left, you can just cancel them. Well, there's only one. If I had another x minus 1 over here, I could cancel it, but I don't. So I'm still left with x minus 1 equals 2. And look at how easy that became. What do I do to both sides? Not
You
divide.
have to add 1.
Yeah, add 1. And my final answer is x equals 3. Very good. Okay, there is one almost identical to that one on the exam. Now, like I told you, this review is the test. The only thing is I just gave you an extra one to do on the top. I gave you 2 problems on the top.
Question. How
Yeah.
do you get the